Hello, my name is Kristina Vernen, and this is our strategic assessment on Uber. My team members' names are Gianni and Erik, and my first subset is mission, goals, and strategic management processes of Uber. Uber's mission statement is to bring transportation for everyone, everywhere. Now, Uber's major goals include things from providing reliable transportation to making transportation safer. They strive to become so efficient and make cars so highly utilized that for most people it's cheaper than owning their own car. Uber also is becoming more affordable for consumers than using their own vehicles, and that's one of their major goals in the future. They also have a goal of reducing congestion in cities by getting more people in fewer cars. Uber seems to have fewer long-term goals and stretch goals that would serve as its strategic intent. After doing some research, it's clear that the stretch goal of Uber's is to create the world's biggest P2P logistics platform, allowing anyone to either request or provide physical delivery of a myriad of goods and services. Also, Uber has spoken about introducing driverless cars for the future. There have been some changes in Uber's strategy over time. They came up with a simple idea: tap a button and get a ride. Uber started out as a company with a mission to become an easily accessible way for people to get where they need to go. With revolutionary technology and state-of-the-art engineers, Uber surpassed where they were headed and expanded their goals. From an easy and affordable ride system to an economically keen plan with the highest tech on the market, Uber has become one of the largest ride-sharing companies in the world. Since the company started in 2009, their goals have vastly changed based on their extreme growth rate. Although Uber has some profit issues, they are still in first place in the industry, with goals that not only align with individual people, but also with reducing congested cities and making positive impacts on the market globally. Overall, I would say this change resulted in a combination of both emergent and intended strategies that evolved from rapid growth and success.
So I'm going to be talking about the external analysis of Uber. So one thing we looked at was the pestle framework, and what we did was we looked at a variety of environmental, economic, social, and technological conditions that might contribute to the success or struggle of Uber in their industry. A potential environmental factor that has an impact on Uber is potentially city congestion. And what I mean by that is, let's use Boston for an example. Boston is a city that is always under construction. I just went into it last night, and there's always something that needs to be worked on. So if people see that Boston is under construction all the time, and it feels it takes them longer to get to their destination because of it, people might turn to another way to get to their location, such as like a commuter rail or a subway. So that is something that can affect Uber. Another factor is weather conditions. Another thing about Boston is the weather is very unpredictable. It can snow, it can rain, it could be sunny all in one day. So this is a factor because people may want to stay inside if the weather is not ideal for their going out situation. This makes it harder for Uber to generate funds and receive money. So I would say a positive factor is when popular figures come to areas around you. So say like a big concert with a big time name or a big sporting event like Boston, the Celtics game last night, it makes it very easy for Uber to generate money because so many people want to go to one area. So that is an environmental factor that goes into Uber. Now, we applied the 5 forces model to our industry. So quickly, the competitive rival we said was Lyft and Sidecar. The supplier power, Uber makes it very user-friendly for suppliers to pay for the ride. It is very easy to access and very easy to use. Buyer power, with the growth of Lyft in particular, the ability for prices to go down is not unthinkable. However, Uber being very, like I said, cash friendly towards its customers, it's hard to believe that prices would go down because that makes it harder to generate the amount of funds because you still need to create revenue. threat of substitution, things like Lyft, Ola Cabs, Grab, and Gojek are competitors, are companies that stem from the same concept as Uber. So it's not like they're the only one of its kind. And a threat of new entry, like I said, Lyft being a new popular app and all these other ones coming in, it's not impossible for a threat of a new entry to present itself and in a way compete with Uber. And what the five force model shows us is that Uber is in an industry that has many competitors. While filling this exercise out, it comes off as very repetitive, but in reality, it just has such a growing and popular concept that people are capitalizing off of it and trying to put their own style behind it. And as far as the dynamic part of it, we feel that the industry in which Uber is in is dynamic, and it is because of Uber. Uber put this type of business handling on the map. They base their prices off the time of the ride, the potential traffic, and all these other factors that go into the ride. Companies are trying to copy their way of thinking. So there are companies, though, like Lyft, who are growing and have even recently doubled its revenue over the previous years. So Uber does have some competition, but it's something they kind of generated and started.
Hi, my name is Gianni Esposito, and I'm going to be talking about internal analysis, competitive advantage, and later on, social responsibility. First, internal analysis. Uber's core competencies are ease of use and convenience. These sound simple, but Uber excels at these main features, making more and more people choose Uber over Lyft and other ride services. Their app is constantly updated with the newest software to ensure the user can easily call and schedule a ride. The drivers are also using the simple design, which makes finding, picking up, and driving users a breeze. Uber's main strength is that they are a mainstream and highly recognized sharing app. If you use ride-sharing apps, you have used Uber, or at the very least heard about them. Uber's other strengths are their mutual benefits for both the driver and rider, as well as loyalty to their customers. Uber's main weakness is not meeting their heavy demand at times. Since Uber is the #1 ride-sharing app, there is massive demand and some rides cannot be fulfilled due to not enough drivers. Uber's other weaknesses is the doubt some new riders have about using the ride-sharing app for the first time. It takes time for a new user to gain trust with Uber and its drivers. Uber's main opportunity is a quick advancement in metro cities and areas across the nation. People have always used taxis in these areas, so there's always room to grow. Other opportunities include multiple different ride options for riders and drivers, as well as working with companies that offer discounts for using Uber. Next, competitive advantage. There are many factors that contribute to Uber's massive growth. One of them is capitalizing on the pure fact that a majority of society has smartphones and use apps every day. Uber created a sleek, easy-to-use app that gives people what they need. The days of calling for a taxi are over, as one can simply go on their phone and call an Uber with no problem. Another reason for Uber's success is their pricing, as well as their successful marketing through major events and social media. Uber's pricing is cheaper than taxis and other ride services. That reason alone will switch over a lot, if not all, customers. While Uber has definitely had major success and boasts the #1 spot in ride-sharing apps, they have had their failures. One of their failures is not enough profits. Due to their low prices to keep an advantage over taxis and other ride services, along with paying their drivers, they have missed out on profits. Uber has economically focused on trying to keep their competitive advantage through cars that drive themselves as well. This will most definitely keep their competitive advantage over other ride services due to the pure fact they do not have to pay drivers. This would equal pure profit, but there is great danger in these prototypes that are currently being installed in few cities. There has been one accident where a driverless prototype hit somebody and that person ended up dying, which recalled all the driverless prototypes till further notice.
So I'm also going to talk about the business strategy. The focus for Uber would be a localization strategy in order to implement an appropriate business model in each of the local economies where they have set up their business. For example, the business in Boston is not the same as the business in New York City. And this is because Boston does not have the same level of nightlight and flair of New York City, but it does have a need for travelers to have an easy way to get to such the airport or train station such as that from various parts of the state. In New York City, the Uber user may access the company for more short-term rides, but also want higher-end vehicles. So that is something that is taken into account. So as far as positive and negatives of Uber go, positive, Uber was the first of its kind, still a recognizable name. It's very user-friendly, like I stated before. Asking for feedback and rating of drivers show that they are willing to change and adapt to situations and always be account and want to satisfy a customer first. Loyal customers due to routine-based thinking, so if you have it in your mind, I'm just going to Uber somewhere, that automatically is generating revenue for Uber without even thinking you're doing it. And Uber has taken a careful look at the parts of the country that they think their model will thrive. So they're just looking at where is the best place to put an Uber product. Negatives, as we've been stating, the model is very easy to copy, like Lyft, and as a result, the competition has been growing rapidly and quickly. Recently, bad publicity with their former CEO regarding alleged sexual harassment and poor treatment of employees has also contributed to the image problem. So people are thinking less of Uber, as popular as it may be. Now the popularity is not all good. So, and a suggestion we had, there was a hashtag delete Uber trend that was going around not too long ago. I would say what Uber should improve on is trying to separate itself from Lyft and stop trying to be like one another. Even though they were first, it's kind of time to separate itself. So the idea of having an Uber Plus where you can ride with other people that aren't riding with you is a good way to do that. My friend Thomas is someone who did that, and he said it was really cool, and he met people in each ride, and he said it adds a different flair. So that is something that I think Uber is working on and is really excelling in.
For my next topic, I will be discussing Uber's global strategy. Uber operates in 78 countries in over 600 cities worldwide. The strategic decisions in a global marketplace have become increasingly complex. A global industry is one which competition crosses national borders. The strategic moves of a company in one country can be significantly affected by its competitive position in another. There are 4 types of global strategies, which include international strategy, localization strategy, global standardization, and transitional strategy. In my opinion, Uber seems to have a transitional global strategy. A transitional strategy is a strategy that seeks efficiencies of global operations with attention to local markets. It combines a high responsiveness with lowest cost of production involved to position itself in the global markets. Uber adjusts its prices, looks, and language for different markets. Uber is using a combination of localized strategy with global standardization strategy. Now, is this the best strategy for Uber to use? While Uber has had many issues arise in other countries, some have even banned Uber from operating in certain areas. Uber needs to gain a better grasp of each culture it enters into to maintain a high success rate in international waters. In my opinion, in order for Uber to become more successful globally, they need to implement a global standardization strategy. Whereas in the case of a global standardization strategy, it is a cost leadership strategy which is concerned with the organizations that bear high manufacturing skills. Thank you.
And lastly, social responsibility. Uber, while extremely successful and used by millions, has not been socially responsible as of late. Uber was very supportive of President Trump's travel ban against certain immigrants. This created massive backlash for the company, resulting in a large mass of users deleting their accounts, as well as triggering a social media hashtag, delete Uber, that went viral. This was an extremely big loss for Uber, which resulted in Uber backtracking by pledging $3 million to immigrant drivers that were connected to the travel ban. While this was the ultimate right move for the company and its driver, it was way too late and people did not forget their statements and actions. If I had to personally choose, I would not work for this company due to their statements regarding the travel ban and immigrants. We all know someone who is an immigrant in our country trying to live the American dream. This was a major negative towards their company. And with that being said, I would put my feelings aside and I would invest in this firm. The reason why I say this, and I know it sounds contradicting, is because Uber has a bright future and can get big enough to buy out their rival Lyft, which would make them the sole proprietor of the ride-sharing market, equaling a massive payout for investors. I hope you enjoyed our presentation, and thank you.